My name is Amelia Hart. I'm 35 years old, and until one Thursday night, I believed I had finally built the kind of life people spend years searching for. I had been with my boyfriend Jason Reed for 3 years. We had lived together for 18 months in a 2-bedroom apartment overlooking the eastern side of the city. It was technically a rent-to-own arrangement, complicated on paper, but simple in our minds. Every payment felt like another brick in the future we kept describing to each other. Marriage, children, a house somewhere quieter. Jason was 32 and worked in marketing. He had an easy confidence that made strangers remember him. He could enter a crowded room and somehow make everyone feel like he had been hoping to see them specifically. I worked in finance. My hours were predictable, my income was comfortable, and I had always been the practical one between us. Jason called me his anchor. At the time, I thought that was romantic. I had already purchased the ring. Jason had shown it to me almost a year earlier while we were passing a jeweler downtown. A simple platinum band with a square-cut diamond. He had paused at the window and smiled. That one, he'd said. Nothing too ridiculous, just clean and timeless. 2 months before Christmas, I quietly bought it. I planned to propose during a weekend trip to a cabin where we had celebrated our first anniversary. I had already spoken to the owner about candles, dinner, and a bottle of the same wine we drank the night Jason first told me he loved me. But life has a strange way of revealing the truth just before you make a permanent mistake. That Thursday began normally. I worked from home while Jason drove my Audi to his office because his Honda was being serviced. Around 6 that evening, he texted that his team was getting drinks after work. Might be late. Don't wait up for dinner. It was nothing unusual. He went out with coworkers once or twice a month. I ordered Thai food, watched basketball, and answered a few emails while half listening to the television. At 9:30, Jason called. "Hey babe, I'm leaving now." His voice sounded light, almost overly casual. "Do you want me to pick you up?" I asked. "No, don't worry about it. My battery's almost dead anyway, so don't panic if I stop replying." I muted the television. "How are you getting home?" There was a tiny pause. Rachel offered to drive me. Rachel Monroe, Jason's ex-girlfriend from college. They had dated for 2 years before breaking up shortly after graduation. Jason always described the relationship as intense but immature, something they had both outgrown. They remained loosely connected through mutual friends, and I had met Rachel twice at group gatherings. She worked in technology, had recently separated from her husband, and possessed the kind of calm, observant presence that made me feel as if she noticed more than she said. "Oh," I replied. "That's convenient," Jason laughed. It was his teasing laugh, the one he used whenever he wanted to make my discomfort seem childish. "You're not jealous, are you?" "No," I said. "Of course not. I'll see you soon. Love you." "Love you too." The call ended. I tried to return my attention to the game, but something in my body refused to relax. It wasn't exactly jealousy. Jason had never guarded his phone or disappeared for days. He had never given me a clear reason to suspect him. But his laugh had sounded practiced. 5 minutes later, I went to the kitchen for a drink. As I passed the tablet mounted near the entryway, I noticed a notification from the Audi app. Jason's phone was still connected to the vehicle's Bluetooth system. I stopped walking. The car was moving approximately 15 minutes away from our building. Because Jason had driven my Audi to work, Rachel was apparently driving him home in my car. That alone was strange. He had said Rachel was giving him a ride, not that she was driving my vehicle. A year earlier, Jason and I had connected our phones to the car's remote access system. Under certain conditions, the app could transmit whatever audio was playing through the speakers. I stared at the screen. Listening would cross a boundary. I knew that. But the lie about the car had already crossed one too. My finger hovered over the audio icon before I pressed it. At first, there was only music, a pop song playing quietly beneath the sound of tires on wet pavement. Then the music stopped. Jason's voice filled the apartment. "My battery isn't actually dying. I just told her that so she wouldn't keep texting." A woman answered. "Smart." "Rachel." My stomach tightened. "How much longer are you going to keep doing this?" she asked. "I don't know. It's complicated." "You've been saying that for 3 months." 3 months. I sat down slowly on the edge of the couch. Jason sighed. "She's talking about proposing." Rachel's voice sharpened. You're sure? She bought the ring. How do you know? I saw the charge on our credit card. I checked the jeweler's website. It's exactly the one I showed her. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. I heard the rhythmic clicking of a turn signal. Then Rachel asked, Do you love her? The silence that followed seemed to expand through the entire apartment. I care about Amelia, Jason finally said. She's stable. She's generous. She's everything that makes sense on paper. That isn't what I asked. Another pause. No, he whispered. Not the way I love you. I did not cry. I did not scream or throw the tablet across the room. I sat perfectly still listening to the man I planned to marry explain that I was simply the sensible option. Then leave her, Rachel said. Move in with me. You're still legally married. The paperwork will be finalized in 6 weeks. Michael already moved out. And what happens to the apartment? Amelia pays most of it. I can't afford it alone. You can stay with me. In your 1-bedroom apartment that still has your husband's things in it. Estranged husband, Rachel corrected. And I'll clear everything out. Jason lowered his voice. I need more time. You've had 3 months. The car was less than 10 minutes away now. Then Jason said something I would remember more clearly than anything else. I'll wait until after she proposes. Rachel went quiet. Jason continued, I'll say yes. Then maybe a month later I'll end it. That way it looks like I tried. She won't hate me as much. Rachel gave a short, disbelieving laugh. That is unbelievably cruel. I know. But she deserves closure. Closure. The word nearly made me laugh. Instead, I opened my laptop and activated the recording software. Every sentence was captured. Every pause. Every casual confession. Rachel asked whether they might have stayed together if they had been more mature in college. Jason answered without hesitation. Maybe. But now I know what I want. And what's that? You. The GPS showed them 5 minutes away. Stop before the building, Jason said. The parking lot has cameras. You're paranoid. I'm careful. There's a difference. Seconds later, the audio disappeared. Jason had disconnected his phone. I saved the recording and backed it up in 3 separate places. Then I looked around our apartment. The photographs on the wall. The shelves we assembled together. The couch we spent 2 hours arguing over before buying. Everything suddenly resembled scenery on a stage. 3 minutes later, the door opened. Jason walked inside carrying his work bag, smiling, as though he had not just dismantled our entire life in the front seat of my car. Hey, babe. He leaned down and kissed me. I let him. Sorry I'm late, he said. Traffic was awful. No problem. How were the drinks? I asked. The usual. Melissa's seeing someone new. Tom complained about his bonus for an hour. He placed his bag on the counter and stretched. I'm exhausted. I'm going to shower and head to bed. Sure. He disappeared into the bathroom. When the water began running, I picked up my phone and texted my friend Claire Bennett, an attorney I had known since college. Need to talk tomorrow morning. Urgent. Then I opened a blank document and began making a list. The following morning, Jason kissed me goodbye before leaving for work. Don't forget dinner with my parents on Sunday, he said. I won't. At exactly 9, Claire called. What happened? I sent her the recording. She listened without interrupting. When it ended, she was silent for several seconds. Amelia, she finally said, do not confront him. I'm done, Claire. I know. But being done and being prepared are not the same thing. You need financial records, ownership documents, passwords, and copies of every joint account. Her voice became colder. And you need to find out whether 3 months of betrayal left receipts. I opened our banking app. The first unfamiliar charge appeared almost immediately. Marriott Hotel 5th Street, $200, Tuesday night. Then another charge from the same hotel 2 weeks later. And another. My hands began to tremble as I scrolled. Jason had not only been lying, he had been making me pay for it. The charges formed a pattern so clean it felt almost rehearsed. Every other Tuesday for 3 months, Jason had spent $200 at the Marriott on 5th Street. Those were the same Tuesdays he told me the downtown branch needed him for late meetings. I opened our calendar. September 3, quarterly planning session. September 17, client presentation. October 1, budget review. October 15, team dinner. Each excuse sat neatly beside a hotel charge. I kept scrolling. There were dinners at restaurants I had never visited, including one where Jason and I had tried to get a reservation for our anniversary and been told the waiting list was 6 weeks long. There were concert tickets, purchased on a night he claimed he had a migraine. There was a charge from a boutique lingerie shop. I stared at that one longer than the others. It was not the amount that hurt. It was the memory attached to the date. That evening, Jason had come home late and complained about being exhausted. I had made him soup, lowered the lights, and rubbed his shoulders while he sat at the kitchen counter. He had kissed my wrist and said, "I don't know what I'd do without you." Now I knew. He had spent the afternoon buying something for Rachel, then returned home and let me take care of him. Claire remained on the phone while I documented everything. "Download the statements," she said. "Do not just take screenshots. Save the original files." I created a folder on my laptop: hotel receipts, restaurants, concert tickets, shared account transfers. I labeled each file by date and backed the entire folder up twice. My hands shook, but my thoughts had become strangely precise. "What about the joint account?" I asked. "How much is in it?" "A little over 14,000. "How much did each of you contribute?" "Mostly me. Probably 75%. Transfer half into your personal account. No more. Leave a clear record. You do not want him claiming you emptied it." I moved exactly half. $7,000. Then I changed every password connected to my name: banking, email, insurance, phone provider, cloud storage, streaming services, even the grocery delivery account. The ordinary nature of the process made the betrayal feel more surreal. 3 years of intimacy, reduced to updated passwords and downloaded statements. Claire asked about the apartment. "It's in both our names," I said. "But I covered the deposit and most of the monthly payments." "Do you have proof?" "Yes." "Good. Pull everything. Transfers, receipts, improvements, furniture purchases. The rent-to-own agreement matters, but contribution history may matter more." I found the original contract in the filing cabinet. The same cabinet Jason had opened weeks earlier, while supposedly searching for his passport. At the time, I noticed several folders had been moved. He blamed it on being rushed. Now I wondered whether he had been looking for financial documents or the ring receipt. By noon, I had built a spreadsheet showing every payment I had made toward the apartment. The deposit, 70% of the monthly installments. The new refrigerator. The shelving in the second bedroom. The plumbing repair Jason insisted we delay until I finally paid for it myself. The numbers did not tell the whole story, but they told enough. Claire reviewed the files I sent her. "You're in a stronger position than he probably realizes. I don't want a war. That does not mean you should walk away from what is yours." I looked around the apartment. The place no longer felt like mine, but the money inside it still represented years of work. What should I do next? Do not tell him anything. Arrange somewhere to stay. Remove only property that is clearly yours. Photograph everything before and after. Leave his belongings untouched. I opened the website for a storage facility near my office. By 2 that afternoon, I had reserved a unit. By 3, I had booked movers for Saturday. Then I called Jason's father. Robert answered on the second ring. "Amelia," he said warmly. "We were just talking about Sunday. Linda wants to know whether she should make that lemon cake you like." For a moment, I could not speak. Jason's parents had always treated me with kindness. Robert remembered the name of every colleague I mentioned. Linda sent me soup when I had the flu, and called me her future daughter-in-law before Jason and I ever discussed marriage seriously. "Actually, Robert, I need to cancel dinner." "Oh, everything all right?" Something came up. There was a pause. His voice changed. "Is Jason okay?" "Physically, yes." "What does that mean?" I pressed my fingers against my forehead. "I can't explain yet. I just don't think Sunday dinner should happen." "Amelia, you're scaring me." "I'm sorry. You and Linda have always been good to me. I want you to know that." Another silence followed, heavier than the first. Did Jason do something? I closed my eyes. "I need to go." "Amelia. Thank you for everything, Robert." I ended the call before my voice could break. Jason came home just after 7, carrying a paper bag from my favorite Chinese restaurant. "I thought we could have a quiet night," he said. He smiled as he unpacked the food. Kung Pao chicken, extra spicy, vegetable dumplings, the noodles I always ordered when I was stressed. For one reckless second, I wondered whether he knew. Maybe he had discovered the recording. Maybe Rachel had warned him. Maybe this entire dinner was another performance designed to soften me before he confessed. But Jason behaved normally. He complained about a meeting. He mocked a coworker's presentation. He asked whether I wanted to watch the new episode of a show we had started together. We ate at the coffee table. Afterward, he curled against me on the couch, his head resting near my shoulder. His familiar weight felt unbearable. "I've been thinking about Christmas," he murmured. My pulse slowed. "What about it? Maybe we should go somewhere. Just the two of us." The cabin reservation flashed through my mind. Candles. Wine. The ring. Where, I asked? "I don't know. Somewhere romantic." He looked up at me and smiled. There was no guilt in his eyes. Only expectation. He already knew I planned to propose, and he was still willing to help design the setting for it. "I love you," he said. The words landed softly, almost tenderly. I looked at the man I had trusted for 3 years. The man who had used my money to finance hotel rooms with another woman. The man who intended to accept my proposal so his eventual departure would seem compassionate. "I love you too," I replied. It was the last lie I told him. Saturday morning, I packed an overnight bag. "My sister needs help with something," I said. "Business trouble." Jason looked concerned. "Is it serious?" "Probably not. Just paperwork." "Do you want me to come?" "No. You'd be bored." He stepped closer and kissed my forehead. "Drive safely." I almost laughed at the cruelty of those words. After Jason left for the gym and brunch with friends, I called the movers. They arrived 20 minutes later. Before anyone touched anything, I photographed every room. Then we began. The desk I owned before meeting Jason. My books. My clothes. My computer equipment. The framed photograph of my grandmother. The dishes my mother gave me when I moved into my first apartment. I left the couch, television stand, dining table, and everything we had purchased together. I left Jason's clothes exactly where they were. His shoes remained lined beneath the bedroom window. His coffee mug stayed beside the sink. His life was not destroyed. Only my presence was removed from it. By 3 that afternoon, the apartment looked functional but hollow. The empty spaces told the truth more clearly than any argument could. I placed an envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside was a transcript of the recording copies of the hotel charges, a summary of my financial contributions, and Claire's contact information. Then I added a handwritten note. "Jason, I heard everything Thursday night. My car, my Bluetooth system, your conversation with Rachel. I heard you say, 'You do not love me.' I heard you discuss accepting my proposal and leaving me afterwards so you could pretend you tried. I know about the Marriott, the dinners, the concert, and the other charges paid from our joint account. I have removed only what belongs to me. Half the joint balance remains available to you. All further communication must go through Claire. I do not hate you. I am simply finished being the safe life you use while waiting for the one you actually want. You had 3 months to make a decision. I made it for you. Do not contact me. Amelia. P.S. Sunday dinner is cancelled. Your parents know something is wrong. What you tell them is your responsibility." I left my key on top of the envelope. Then I drove to a hotel across town. Not the Marriott. I checked in, placed my bag on the floor, and sat at the edge of the bed. At 7:08 p.m., my phone began vibrating. "Jason." I watched it ring until the screen went dark. Seconds later, a message appeared. "Amelia, call me." Then another. "I just got home." Then, "Please, this is not what you think." The phone rang again. I did not answer. Jason sent 6 more messages in under 3 minutes. "I can explain. You misunderstood. Nothing happened the way it looks. Please don't do this. We need to talk. I love you." I blocked his number. The room became silent. For the first time in 3 years, Jason did not know where I was. And for the first time since hearing the recording, I felt something close to control. Then at exactly 8 o'clock, Robert called. Robert's name glowed on the screen. For several seconds, I considered letting the call go unanswered. He was Jason's father. No matter how kind he had been to me, blood had a way of rearranging loyalties when the truth became inconvenient. But Robert had always treated me with respect. I answered, "Amelia." His voice sounded strained. "Yes." Jason called us. He was barely making sense. He said you moved out and left some kind of accusation on the counter. I looked at the blank hotel wall. Did he tell you what the accusation was? He said there was a misunderstanding involving Rachel. There's no misunderstanding. Robert went silent. I continued before courage could leave me. Jason has been having an affair with her for 3 months. I heard them talking Thursday night. I have the recording. What do you mean you heard them? Jason borrowed my car. His phone stayed connected to the Bluetooth system. I accessed the audio through the vehicle app. I heard Robert breathing. They talked about hotel rooms, I said. About being together. Jason admitted he didn't love me. He also said he knew I bought an engagement ring. Robert said nothing. He planned to let me propose, say yes, and then leave me a month later so it would look like he tried to make the relationship work. A low sound escaped him. Not quite a word. "Amelia, I'm not calling you to turn you against your son. I only answered because you asked what happened. He told us you were overreacting. I expected that." He said Rachel only drove him home. She was driving him home in my car, after they discussed moving in together. Robert cursed under his breath. I had never heard him swear before. "Send me the recording." I closed my eyes. "I don't think that's a good idea. Please." There was something in his voice I recognized. It was the same need that had made me press the audio button. The desperate desire to know whether reality was truly as bad as it felt. "I'll send the transcript," I said. "Not the audio." "Fine." "And Robert?" "Yes. I don't blame you or Linda. You've both been wonderful to me." His voice cracked. "I need to call you back." The line disconnected. 20 minutes later, Linda called. "Amelia, honey." Her voice was soft and unsteady. "Hey, Linda." Robert showed me the messages. Jason admitted enough of it that we know this is real. I gripped the blanket beneath me. "I'm sorry. You have nothing to apologize for." That was the sentence that broke through me. Not the recording. Not the hotel receipts. Not even the empty apartment. Those 6 words. "You have nothing to apologize for." I covered my mouth with one hand. Linda continued. "We didn't know. I swear to you, if we had known." "I know." Robert is furious. Jason keeps saying he was confused that Rachel came back into his life at a vulnerable time. A vulnerable time? He says you were working too much. I gave a hollow laugh. I was working enough to pay most of our bills. "I know." Robert told him the same thing. There was a long pause. Then Linda whispered, "You didn't deserve this." My eyes burned. "Thank you. You're a good woman, Amelia. Please don't let what he did make you question that." After we ended the call, I finally allowed the grief in. It did not come dramatically. There was no screaming or shattered glass. I simply sat on the hotel bed while tears slid down my face, quiet and constant, as if my body had been waiting for someone else to confirm that the pain was real. I cried for the ring hidden in my drawer, for the cabin reservation, for the future conversations we had rehearsed so many times that I mistook them for promises. I ordered room service and barely touched it. At midnight, I fell asleep with the television still on. Sunday morning, Claire texted me. "Jason hired an attorney. They contacted me at 7:40. I stared at the message before calling her. "He already has a lawyer. He's panicking. What does he want?" "To meet. He claims you removed shared property and froze him out financially. I took only my belongings, and I left half the money." "I know. You documented it correctly." I rubbed my eyes. "What happens now?" "That depends on what you want. We can fight every issue, or we can push for a fast separation." "I want out. Even if it means compromising. I don't want to punish him. I want my share and my life back." Claire was quiet for a moment. "That clarity will help you." I spent the afternoon walking through the city, without any destination. I bought coffee and sat in a park watching families, runners, and couples move through their ordinary Sundays. Their lives seemed untouched by secret conversations and hotel receipts. My phone rang from an unknown number. I almost ignored it. Instead, I answered, "Amelia." A woman's voice. I knew immediately. "Rachel," she exhaled. I wanted to explain. "There's nothing I need explained. I didn't know Jason planned to accept your proposal. You knew he was living with me." "I know. You knew we shared finances." "Yes. You knew he had not ended our relationship." She hesitated. "He said it was already over," emotionally. I watched a little girl chase pigeons near the fountain, and that made the hotel rooms acceptable. "I'm not calling to pretend I'm innocent." "Then why are you calling?" "Because the proposal plan was cruel. I told him that." "You still stayed." Silence. Rachel lowered her voice. "Jason said you were more like roommates. He said you cared more about work than him." I almost smiled. That story was already becoming useful to him. "Rachel, let me save you some time. I am not going to compete with you. I am not going to ask when it started or which one of you made the first move. I never asked you to compete." "No. You just helped him make me finance it." "That wasn't my idea. But you benefited from it." She went quiet again. Then she said, "I'm sorry." I looked down at my coffee. "Are you still planning to be with him?" "I don't know." "That's interesting. Thursday night, both of you sounded certain." "Everything is complicated now." "No, Rachel. Everything is visible now. That's different." She inhaled sharply. I continued, "Here's the only advice I'll give you. If you build a life with Jason, remember this. Every time he comes home late, every time his battery dies, every time he says you're imagining things. That's unfair." "Is it?" "He loves me. He told me that too." Rachel did not answer. I ended the call. By Monday, the landlord had reviewed our rent-to-own agreement. Claire joined the conversation. Because I had paid the deposit and most of the installments I held, the stronger financial claim, Jason had two options: buy out my documented share or agree to sell and divide the proceeds according to our contributions. Jason could not afford the buyout. His lawyer asked for time. Claire refused to let the process drift. Then, the story Jason and Rachel had built began collapsing faster than either of them expected. Rachel's divorce was not 6 weeks from completion. Her husband Michael had signed nothing final. When he learned about Jason, he contested the settlement and accused Rachel of hiding marital spending. Mutual friends began calling me. Some wanted details. Some wanted gossip. One asked whether I was sure an emotional connection counted as an affair. I sent no one the recording. I did not need a public trial. Jason tried to tell people I had become controlling and obsessed with money, but the hotel charges made that story difficult to defend. 2 weeks after I left, Claire called. "I heard something you may want to know." "What?" "Jason and Rachel are over." I leaned against the window of my temporary apartment. That was fast. Apparently, Michael's legal response changed Rachel's priorities. She told Jason she couldn't handle his drama while dealing with the divorce. I almost laughed. For 3 months, they had treated me like the obstacle standing between them and some great love. Once I stepped aside, they lasted 14 days. That evening, Linda sent me a message. Jason asked to move home. Robert said no. I read it twice. Then, another message arrived from Jason through Claire. He wants to know whether there is any chance of reconciliation. I looked around the small room, filled with unpacked boxes. For the first time, the emptiness did not frighten me. I typed one sentence. "Tell him the woman he wanted is gone, and so is the woman who waited for him." Claire forwarded my message to Jason's attorney that same afternoon. Less than an hour later, she called me. He read it, and he asked whether you would at least meet him once. I looked out the window of the furnished apartment I had rented, while everything was being finalized. Outside, people crossed the street, carrying groceries, laughing into their phones, arguing about ordinary things. Life had continued without asking whether I was ready. "No," I said quietly. Claire didn't try to persuade me. I figured that would be your answer. Over the next several weeks, the legal process moved faster than I expected. The landlord reviewed every payment I had made since Jason and I entered the rent-to-own agreement. The down payment, the monthly installments, the renovation costs, the utility bills, the maintenance invoices. Every transfer was documented. Jason's attorney initially argued that the apartment should simply be divided equally because both of our names appeared on the contract. Claire responded with spreadsheets, bank statements, receipts, and timelines. Facts have a strange way of removing emotion from an argument. Numbers do not care who cries louder. After several rounds of negotiation, Jason accepted reality. He could not afford to purchase my share. The apartment would be sold. Once the sale closed, the proceeds would be divided according to our documented financial contributions. When everything was finished, I recovered roughly 70% of what I had invested. Honestly, that felt fair. I kept the furniture I had owned before we moved in together, my personal belongings and my savings. Jason kept everything that belonged to him. The joint credit card debt told a different story. Claire had prepared a detailed summary showing every hotel stay, every restaurant bill, every concert ticket, and every purchase connected to the affair. Because those expenses clearly benefited Jason rather than our household, he accepted responsibility for them during negotiations. I never argued about revenge. I simply refused to finance my own betrayal. One afternoon, about 5 weeks after I left the apartment, a handwritten envelope arrived in my mailbox. The return address belonged to Robert and Linda. For several minutes, I simply stared at it. Eventually, I opened it. Inside was a simple card. Linda had written first, "Amelia, there are no words that can erase what happened. Thank you for telling us the truth, instead of allowing us to believe a lie. You deserved honesty from the beginning. We hope one day someone gives you the love and loyalty you offered so freely. Love, Linda." Below her message was Robert's handwriting. "You will always have my respect. Take care of yourself." I read the card 3 times before placing it inside a drawer beside my bed. Not every relationship had been destroyed. Some people had chosen integrity over convenience. A few days later, one of our mutual friends called. "You know, Jason and Rachel broke up, right?" I heard. "You haven't heard everything." Apparently, once Rachel's husband Michael challenged the divorce settlement, financial pressure began building almost immediately. Rachel became overwhelmed by attorney meetings, paperwork, and unexpected legal expenses. Jason expected her to lean on him emotionally. Rachel expected Jason to rescue the future they had imagined together. Instead, they started blaming each other. According to our friends, their arguments sounded remarkably familiar. Jason accused Rachel of becoming distant. Rachel questioned every late meeting Jason claimed to have at work. Whenever his phone battery dropped below 10%, she became suspicious. Whenever she took longer than expected to answer a text, Jason demanded explanations. Trust had disappeared before the relationship even began. Eventually, Rachel packed her things and left. The great love they had risked everything for lasted barely 2 weeks once secrecy was no longer holding it together. Ironically, they destroyed something real for something that could not survive ordinary life. Jason tried moving back into his parents' house. Robert refused. He did not disown his son. He simply told him something Jason had apparently never expected to hear. "You can always come here for help," Robert reportedly said. "But you cannot come here to escape the consequences of your choices." Jason ended up renting a room from a coworker while searching for another apartment. For the first time since I met him, he had to build a life without someone quietly carrying most of the weight. As for me, I signed the lease on a 1-bedroom apartment in another neighborhood. It wasn't luxurious. The kitchen was smaller. The windows overlooked a row of maple trees instead of the skyline. The bedroom barely fit my furniture, but every single object inside belonged there because I chose it. The first night after moving in, I sat on the living room floor, surrounded by unopened boxes. It should have felt lonely. Instead, it felt peaceful. There were no lies hiding behind closed bathroom doors, no mysterious Tuesday meetings, no careful performances, only silence. And for the first time in months, silence felt safe. I also started seeing a therapist. Not because I believed I was broken, not because I thought I had failed. I wanted someone objective to help me untangle one question that refused to leave my mind. How did I miss this? During one session, I admitted something that embarrassed me. I keep replaying every conversation, every dinner, every vacation, I keep looking for the moment I should have known. My therapist smiled gently. Sometimes there isn't one. I frowned. There have to be signs. Sometimes there are. And sometimes, someone becomes very skilled at protecting two different versions of their life. I remained quiet. She continued. When trust exists, we naturally explain away small inconsistencies because healthy relationships require generosity. So I wasn't naive. No, you were acting like someone who believed the person she loved deserved trust. That sentence stayed with me longer than any legal victory. Over the next month, friends encouraged me to start dating again. At first, I refused. Then eventually, I agreed to coffee with someone a coworker introduced me to. Nothing extraordinary happened. There were no fireworks, no instant chemistry, just an honest conversation with someone who answered questions directly. Oddly enough, that felt refreshing. I wasn't searching for another relationship. I was reminding myself that honesty still existed. The engagement ring remained in my dresser drawer. Every few weeks, I considered returning it. Every few weeks, I decided not to. One afternoon, nearly 6 weeks after everything ended, my phone buzzed with a message from an unfamiliar number. For a long moment, I considered deleting it unopened. Curiosity won. There were only 2 sentences. I'm sorry. You deserved better than the person I became. No name, no request, no explanation. I knew immediately it was Jason. I read the message once. Then again. Months earlier, I would have answered. I would have asked why. I would have wanted details. I would have searched for some final conversation, capable of making the pain feel smaller. Instead, I selected the message, pressed delete, blocked the number, and put my phone back into my pocket. People think closure arrives when the other person finally understands what they did. They imagine one last conversation, one perfect apology, one dramatic ending. But that isn't what I learned. Closure doesn't arrive because the person who hurt you suddenly becomes honest. Closure begins the moment you stop needing their honesty to recognize the truth. I'm Amelia Hart. I'm 35 years old. A few months ago, I thought my future depended on the man I planned to propose to. I was wrong. My future began the moment I walked away without looking back.